Imagine you move from a place where you lived all your life. Imagine you move and you leave all your children and wife. Starting all over again, but no one you know is around. Well, they didn't have to imagine. They built it up from the ground. How does it sound? Not easy cause it isn't. Could have praised them, but it didn't. But the Ray Bond, that's a winner. And they ran straight to the finish. You get to know them up close and personal. Wait, just give me a minute. Welcome to the front row. Can I get a drum roll? Intentional. We may be immigrants, but we are still intentional. We are dependable.
Welcome to the Intentional Immigrants podcast and YouTube channel. Here we seek to inspire, motivate, and encourage immigrants and others so that they can be empowered to live their best lives. My name is Yolanda Jack. I'm so happy that you're able to join me here today. Thank you. And for all my regular listeners and subscribers, thank you. This channel would not exist were it not for you. Can you believe that we are in April already? Where did the time go? It just seemed like yesterday that we were welcoming a new year. However, I hope over the last 90 days or 90 plus days, you have been rocking the goals that you have set for yourself. Take baby steps towards your goals. You will get it done. Just be consistent and go slow. Take it one day at a time, and you'll be surprised after a while you'll see all your goals coming to fruition. Last month, we talked about taxes. Yes, we spoke about taxes last month. Now we will speak about another event that takes place in April. And this is especially geared for students who are enrolled in post-secondary studies. Final exams. Yes, you got that right. Final exams are usually held in April. Of course, if you've done any sort of studying, you know that exams are a bad word, right? You're usually filled with apprehension, worry, and wondering if you are able to write what you have been taught. And are you going to be answering the questions that are asked of you? Intentional Immigrants podcast can be found on Stitcher, Google Podcast, Podbean, and Spotify. The YouTube channel, I'm going to assume that's where you're joining me from. The YouTube, it's also available for those who are listening to the podcast. It is also available on YouTube in video format. In addition, there's a website, www.intentionalimmigrants.com. One word, intentionalimmigrants.com. Of course, I'm asking for you to connect with me there. You can also subscribe so that whenever I have newsletters coming out, you'll be the first to know. All right, so how can you finish this semester strong? The first thing I want to address is missed assignments. So if you have not completed all your assignments throughout the semester, remember you want to capitalize on every single mark that you can get. So ensure that you have completed all your assignments. If you have not done so, speak with your instructor to see if he or she would be willing to accept late submissions. They may or they may not, but what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is that they say no, but at least you would have tried. Now, it's amazing that sometimes students purchase textbooks, but they do not spend the time to read the textbook. A lot of persons rely on the PowerPoint. Now, PowerPoint slides are good I mean, they're good to use. However, they do not capture all the concepts that are in the chapter or about a course. So it's always best to review your textbook. All right, study skills. So we all learn differently. Some persons learn by hearing, auditory. They are auditory learners. Some persons need to see. Those are visual learners. And then there are those who need to read and write. And then there are those who are kinesthetic learners. That means they need to have hands-on learning. Now you need to figure out what type of learner you are. Because the type of learner you are will say how you can study or what's the best way for you to study. All right, so I'm going to provide a link for you to do an assessment to see what type of learner you are, and then it will provide some tips that you can use in learning and in studying your material. All right, so the first tip under study skills is to ensure that you understand the material that is being taught. I find that if you understand the material, 90% of your troubles are over. You can also use study cards. You can use mind maps when you are studying. There is a website or a tool. It's called Anki, A-N-K-I, and it's a great tool for creating flashcards. These flashcards will help you to review the material that you have learned and allow it to stick a little better. In addition, you can also write the material out. So write questions, answer the questions that you're asking yourself, review past exam questions if they are available, review questions that are at the end of a chapter. Those provide a good guide to say how well you are familiar with the material that you would have learned. In addition, there's a beautiful relationship that happens between your hand and your brain. Anytime you start writing, things happen and things stick better. Another tip I want to share is time management. Create a study schedule. Review the courses with a final exam component. Not all courses will have a final exam, but those that do, review them. Then you want to start with the one that you will have first. So the first exam that you'll have, you'll start studying for that one first. Of course, if you have exams back to back, then you have to pace yourself in terms of how you're covering the material for each of the subject. Make adjustments so that you can dedicate the time required to focus on the course material. Another tip I want to share is self-care. Now, I know that exams are stressful and we don't get the time to really take care of ourselves. But your body can only function with what it has. It needs fuel. So you want to make sure that you're eating healthy meals so that your body gets the nourishment that it needs. Your brain needs energy to function. Mental work is hard work. Another tip on the self-care is to get adequate rest. Now, I know that time is at a premium, but ensure that you're getting at least 5 or more hours of sleep. Ideally, you would need 8 or more, 7 to 8 hours, but chances are you're not able to get all of those hours in, but at least get something in. You cannot operate on zero. Your body and your brain needs rest. In addition, when you're studying, when you're actually in the act of studying, take short breaks so that you do not get overwhelmed. It looks different for everybody, It could be that you stop studying, take a walk outside for 10 minutes, or even go outside, take some deep breaths, and come back inside. Set a timer when you are studying so that you can take the required breaks and the material will stick better. All right, my final tip is to review the exam schedule. Now, this is very important. You need to know which exam is being held, where it is being held, and when it is being held. In my years of experience, I've seen students miss exams or arrive late for exams because they were walking all over the place trying to find out where the exam is being held. So you want to make sure that you check your exam schedule. The worst thing that can happen to you is that you studied for the wrong exam. So check your schedule to make sure that you are on point and you do not miss what is important. So those are the tips I have for you today in terms of your final exam. And we'll just recap. The first one you want to think about is to make sure that you are caught up on all your assignments. The second one is to make sure that you're reading your course material, your course textbook, your course materials. Don't rely on the slides alone. They are never enough. Then you want to make sure that you have developed some good study skills by knowing the type of learner that you are, using study cards, using mind mapping tools so that you can retain the information. Manage your time properly, create a schedule. Take care of your body, eat properly, sleep properly, and make sure you're keeping yourself hydrated. Drink enough water so that your body can get the nourishment it needs. As well, take short breaks so that you're not overwhelmed. And finally, review your exam schedule so that you do not miss the exams that you have to attend. All right, that's it for today. These are my study tips, my exam tips, and I'm wishing you all the best as you go into your final exams. Once you're prepared, once you know your material, you can't help but ace the exam. Thank you for tuning in to the Intentional Immigrants podcast and channel. Thank you to the following person who made today's episode possible: Xavier Anderson for providing music. As always, I am your host, Yolanda Jack, reminding you, he who watches the wind will not sow. He who watches the clouds will not reap. Ecclesiastes 11 and verse 4. You were born for greatness. Step out into your greatness so that mankind can benefit from you being here. So long, until next time.
Intentional. We may be immigrants, but we are still intentional.